It's AJ.
And Dar. Here we are, deep skydiving.
Skeep diving.
Skeep diving.
Yeah.
Deep skydiving, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Deep Sky.
Deep skydiving.
Oh, she got. Go ahead.
I don't know. That's
Go ahead.
not
Do
really.
it again. I missed it.
I don't have much more. Than
Oh,
that.
all right.
So, deep skydiving.
Deep skydiving. So, welcome to What Did You Hear Me Say? And we have a couple of new couples joining us today. And so, before we really get into it, I would just ask y'all to, introduce yourselves. How long you've been together, whatever it is you want to share about yourself.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Jalen. I'm here with my wife, Diamond. We've been together for 12 years. We met in high school. So, definitely some time. I love her. I'm glad that I have the opportunity to speak with you all. This is my first time, so I look forward to the experience.
Hello, I'm Diamond, Jalen's wife. We've been together since we were 16, so we've been together for quite some time. And it's been amazing. It's been pretty great. I love this guy. He's my best friend, like my road dog. Anybody ever ask about him or talk about him, like, this is my guy. This is my guy. But yeah, that's all. Yeah. Here you go.
Do we introduce again?
Hello. Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Sinatra, and I'm married to this young man beside me. It'll be 2 years at the end of this month, but we've been together for 10 years. So, yep. That's my dog.
What's going on, guys? This is Kendall. Like she said, we've been together for 10 long, wonderful years. And it's been good. That's my homie, though, for sure. So I feel you what you're saying, bro. That's my homie.
Oh, hey, how you doing? This is Anthony. I'm here with my wife, Raina. We've been together for 13 years. Right? I hope I got that right, because she's looking at me. We've been married for 4 years, and she's my best friend.
Hi, my name is Raina. I am married to Anthony. I've been with Anthony for 14 years and married to him for 4 years. What is a year? We're pretty close. We consider each other best friends. Similar to you all.
This is Dara. I pretty much feel like everybody knows me here. But we've been doing this podcast for, has it been a year now? It's been a pleasure. One day, AJ and I, we literally was just talking, having conversation, and we always, because of the fact that he's obviously male and I'm obviously female, we have these compelling conversations, and we honestly know how to have the conversations without attacking each other. And so I told him it would be nice if we did something different and like put it on a podcast just so that people can start to have, better relationships, better communication. Not even necessarily just in marriages and dating and like you said, romantic relationships. It can be business. It can be, any sort of thing, but just understanding how we as women think differently than men. But it doesn't necessarily have to mean one is superior and one is inferior. So it has been a pleasure working with this guy. Honestly, I've learned so much, like just about men, just about like relationship, just about like my own ways. Like I'm learning a lot about myself for real, and not even in like a selfish way, but just how can I show up different for other people? Because obviously the Lord didn't put me here by myself. So it's been good.
And I'm AJ. Everybody knows me. From the podcast, everybody knows me. Yeah, we wanted, this is like an extension of the podcast because, like I said, we're both single. And so people like, why would I hear this all the time, like, why would I take relationship advice from single people? That's their logic. I let them go with it, right? But the idea is, instead of it just being a podcast and we're talking about how I'm making it work between the sexes and everything, we wanted to get more involved with the community, with people. Hence, What Did You Hear Me Say? That's why it's Deep Skydiver presents What Did You Hear Me Say? And so it's going to be couples with long standings, about 12, 10, 14. Dang, y'all in it, see? Yeah. So y'all have more to offer than I definitely do. And so the questions we're going to ask, or the question I'm going to ask, y'all going to have more answers for it, which the insight that y'all going to provide way more than anything that I can. So today is going to be commitment part 2. So we didn't even get to finish at the last session, we didn't get to finish it. This was the last video, and it's just going to continue on into what we're going to talk about today.
So how do the marriages work, those who are not believers in Christ? How do those marriages, the ones that do survive, how do they make it then, if it has to be rooted in Christ, love?
Very difficult for them to make it because they have no definitions. If they do survive, it is in spite of themselves. They are living better than they know. Because for them, love is dispensable. It is theoretically a relativistic world makes love dispensable. An absolutist world says no. So how does the non-Christian survive? They survive by living better than what their philosophy legitimizes for them. And they actually are covertly expressing God's love without even realizing it. And for the Christian, you have to be wise in your choice, wise in your choice, wise in your choice. And once you make that choice, you stay committed. Otherwise it's broken.
And there's that word, commitment. And so, as I said, we're going to be in part 2 of commitment. And I can't wait to get you guys responses and everything right. So I just had this. Being committed means I could be right, I could be wrong. But this is my take on it. And matter of fact, I'll let y'all tell me whether y'all agree or whether you want to add something to it. But it says one must be willing to possibly change who they are for the sake of the thing or person that they're committed to. Who disagrees? There we go.
Excuse me. This is Sinatra. I'm just going to read it out loud one more time. One must be willing to possibly change who they are for the sake of the thing or person they're committed to. I think what's messing me up is the word change. We both went into our relationship, and especially marriage, knowing that we cannot change each other at all. It's just a choice you just have to make. You can evolve, you can make accommodations, but that word change is just really messing me up, to change who they are. Because you can still be the same person, just no longer do that act of, not being committed. That's all I have so far. Oh, yeah, we got to go around. I'm sorry.
So, yeah, Kendall, sure. So, I think for, like she said, like changing who you are is like it's the transformation of trying to be someone else that you're not, and that's going to cause friction and confrontation in terms of in the parameters of the relationship. So, like, I love the fact that she still lets me be me, but she knows that she puts the boundaries on what that is. Of course, not texting and doing all this other stuff, but just still being who you are. And like she lets me, like, not let me, but like it's just more of a thing between us. Like, she's who she is, and I am who I am, and we find our happy balance in that. So I don't think change, like she said, I don't think change is the word. I think more of like, I would say like enhancing, adjustment. Yeah.
How you doing here? This is Anthony. I agree. I wouldn't say change who you are, because then it wouldn't be real, because you wouldn't be you. As far as like maybe like thinking different or like moving different, because it's a partnership now. So like when you talk to each other, or like when you're doing stuff, like you got to consider that other person is with you. So you got to like make decisions together and, you know, stuff like that. I wouldn't say change though.
This is Raina. Once Sinatra, that's a pretty name. Once Sinatra brought that to my attention, I don't agree. Changing who I am. Being with Anthony, I have learned to grow in order to accept who he is, and together we create boundaries around our beliefs and who we are individually and then as a couple. So I think that in order to grow, takes commitment. I mean, because you can make a decision not to grow. You can decide you're going to be who you are. You have your beliefs. And you're not committed to doing anything different. So.
I'm gonna say this real quick. I think that there are a lot of words that just get people so caught up. Like words mean things. You know what I mean? That's why I tell people that whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never, if they hurt. Okay. Change is very harsh because of what we've added to it. But I do think that that's exactly what you guys are saying, because growth is change. You know what I mean? Compromise is change. Like I'm a different person because I know you. I'm a different person because I know Jalen. I'm a different, you know what I mean? And it's not, my essence is still there, right? But because of the fact, like, I'll give an example. My cousin Chanel, y'all know, you know Chanel. Chanel told me, Chanel always wants to call me. I'm not really like necessarily somebody who wants to be on the phone for hours because I feel like I got things to do. Chanel likes to communicate, right, on the phone. She calls me often. I sometimes, when I was younger, I didn't answer because I don't want to talk. But I realized that in order to be a part of a relationship with Chanel, in order to show my part of the relationship, I have to be a phone person at some point. So while I wasn't doing it at all before, now I might answer on Thursday and we might have a 2-hour conversation because I'm being a part of the relationship. To me, that's changed because I didn't do that before. It wasn't even something I really wanted to bend on, but I love her, so I'm going to do it. So when it comes down to like relationship, you know, even romantic, of course, I'm going to make sure that I do something. Like, I may not like it at first. Like, I might not like to watch football. That's what my man like, though. And I want to spend more time with him because my love language is quality time. So I'm going to sit and I'm going to watch. I'm probably not going to ask nothing. I might even be on my phone. But the change is that now I'm sitting in front of a TV where there's football playing. Do you get what I'm saying? So I think that's what we get caught up. We get caught up in, like, how harsh that word is. But it's really because of what we, right. It is a very harsh word. So there you go.
So let me say this. Because of my personality, like who I am, because I'm changing. I'm trying to grow and change. Like, words are going to sound harsh. Dara's helping me become more graceful with my language. No lie. And she'll tell you. So change is probably a harsh word, but I'll say this, right? You know, people get money, they say you change. They say, you hear a lot of people say, this person changed. Like, no, they ain't changed. They just got money. But see, it won't seem like I changed to me because I was right here through the whole process of me growing. So for me, it's growth. Yeah. For somebody else looking at it from the outside in, it's change. But yeah, but we're going to get to what you going to see.
Jalen, to piggyback off what Dar mentioned compromise. I think that's a better fitting word for this definition. Again, change is definitely a triggering word. But at the same time, you know, a relationship is a team. And with team comes compromise, knowing your role, having agreements, having understandings, and not basing everything off of assumptions. I feel like that's where we go wrong. And I believe that's it. That was my only point, because you hit it.
You want to say something before we move on?
My plastic, baby.
This is Diamond. Like Dara said, that originally, like as soon as you said the question, I wrote down change equals to alter or modify. And I wrote that down because it was like, I figured that change would be the word that everybody, you know, gravitated to, but also right beside is the word possibly. It's not as if you definitively have to change. It's the possibility, like, I am willing to change for this person, this team, or what have you, just to show my commitment. So that right there, you know, I do fully agree with this statement. It's nothing in it that I don't disagree with, especially the word change. I think that change is very poignant and perfect for this statement because change can encompass altering, growing, like everybody else said. But I think that trigger word change makes it to the point where I think that that is what the definition needs, because sometimes it does take a shock to the system in order for you to take that change or be willing to make that accommodation for another person. So, yeah.
It's beautiful. So many of us are on the same page with this then, all right? So like I said, I may say some things. So I spoke to Dara about this yesterday, day before, whatever. I said, I'm really going to need your help on this because how I speak, like how I talk, is like a language directed towards men. Because men and boys are like my purpose. Like this is what God revealed to me. Like I'm here for boys and for men. And so it's kind of hard for me to deliver a language that's more acceptable to women. So yeah. And so some of this may seem like it's directed towards men, in which it is, because when I was downloaded with it, that's how it was. But it's not saying that it can't be applied to women. But what's going to happen is Dara is going to help me translate into women lingo for y'all. I like that. Yeah, right. All right. I want y'all just to answer this for me. I started putting all the questions on the slide because I remember in the past sessions, everybody would ask when they get the mic, what was the question again? So here, what are ways to show the seriousness of your commitment to someone or something?
Jalen, I believe the ways to show your seriousness of the commitment would be by observing what it is that your partner needs or who it is that you're dealing with. What is it that they're seeking as far as what they look for in a relationship, and understanding that to the point where your actions speak for yourself. You have conversations for reassurance and to ask more questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions, but questions or conversations don't really always solve it. It's really your actions to show that you're listening, showing you're being observant, that you don't have to necessarily be asked twice. And I feel like for women, it's a huge thing. For men too, don't get me wrong, we don't like to have to keep repeating ourselves, but from a man's perspective, a lot of times we may have to be told multiple times or have to have the same conversation. And it comes off like we're not listening. But, you know, life be life sometimes. No excuse. You know, to get back on topic, it really has to be a time where you have to buckle down and focus and understand what's at hand. So showing and proving is the answer ultimately.
This is Diamond. I believe that the way to show seriousness to commitment is showing up, even when you don't want to. I think that's the ultimate test of, like, am I serious about this? showing up to work, showing up to practice or what have you, on time, before time, showing that, I'm dedicated to this. If we get into a disagreement and I don't agree with you, me not resulting to anger as my first response and being willing to listen to what it is that you're saying, shows a level of commitment, showing up in that space for that person or that job or what have you, even when I don't want to or don't feel like it, and make it as easy and as possible for everybody involved to not feel so overwhelmed or stressed by my presence. I want to make sure that, if it's a relationship, I want to make sure if I'm there and he needs something, that I show up for him in the way that he needs. If it's a job, I'm a nail tech. So Dar is one of my clients. So if it comes to Dar needs to show up at 2:00, that's when her appointment is, making sure that I'm ready at, 1:45, 1:50 to have everything that she needs separated, and prepared for her appointment makes it to show her that I am committed to her as a client, to my business and things like that. But yeah, all of that to say that that's how I think that you can show seriousness to your commitment.
I don't like you going before me.
No, for real. I'm like, I gotta jot my stuff down. Can't even think fast enough. All right. I actually want to pick. What's your name again? I'm sorry. Jalen. It was something that he said. Sorry, my brain. But something that he said that made me realize it was like 2 weeks ago. And I did not tell him this. So this is the first time I'm saying this out loud. But 2
weeks ago.
Maybe even more. Something that I realized. Men are more simple than I thought. They are way more simple than it's a compliment. It is a huge compliment. Please take it. You guys are way more simple than we think. We do complicate things. We do. But my ways to show the seriousness of my commitment to someone or something, understanding, reassurance, being trustworthy, honest, and open. I feel like those are my ways of showing how serious I am of a commitment. I'm making sure that you understand me and I understand you, whether I agree or disagree. Reassurance, even if you didn't ask for it, I'm giving it to you, letting you know, hey, listen, I see you. Or if I need it, I'm asking for it, hey, how am I doing? Is everything okay? Being trustworthy. You got a question? I'm going to answer it with no problem as much as possible and vice versa, with hope for the same. And with that, being honest. Honest and open. Those are my ways. You can go first.
Sure. This is Kendall. So, like my good friend over at Diamond says, the first thing that came to my mind was sports, right? And I played basketball all my life, and to show the seriousness of my commitment, my dad always taught me that you have to be, number one, you have to respect whatever you giving that commitment to. And then number two, you have to be dedicated to whatever that is. So, like you said, showing up and being on time and being there whenever you need to be to get better. There's always something to get better at. Whether it's, I know for me, it's my communication. I know, sure, but it's always you always want to find something where you're lacking, so that way you can pick it up. And I think that's the way you're always going to continue to show your seriousness towards the commitment.
This is Anthony again. I believe the way to show commitment to something or someone is just like putting in the work, like at all costs, no matter what. You know what I'm saying? And always being there to, like, say she's slacking or something, and I need to be there to lift her back up. You know, always having that person's back or just being down with them, like, at all costs.
This is Raina. I would say I knew that I was serious to my commitment to Anthony when I learned to hold and fold. Okay, so we're just gonna keep it about. So I've always been upfront. You never have to worry about if what I said is what I meant. I am a very loyal person. That is near and dear to my heart. If nothing else, I'm gonna be loyal, okay? And I feel like when I don't speak my mind, I feel like you walked away with a misconception. Or it's possible you walked away with a misconception. And if you did, that was my fault. So when I came into the relationship with Anthony, Anthony is a upfront person too. So can you imagine in a room when y'all are both being upfront at the wrong time, things can go left. They can. And when I realized I wouldn't go for the juggler with him is when I realized that I can hold and fold. I can sit back and know when to be quiet, when enough is enough. When I've gotten my point across and anything further is too much, and I don't want to do too much with him, that's when I knew that I wanted to be committed to him. Because that has always been an area in my life, whether it's with a female, a male, my mother, my father, my grandmother. I have always been the one who feels like, no, this is, be careful when you ask me, what are your thoughts on this? So, yeah, and it has been the demise of previous relationships because I've always also been very nonchalant. I said what I said, and you're left with that, and I'm like dropping mic and walking off. No factoring in of how those words meant or how they affect people. I would say, to piggyback off of that, I would say Anthony is the first male that I've really been vulnerable with. I have been pretty good with hiding my feelings, or as far as, do I really love you? I don't want to give you too much just in case it don't work or you don't think you got one up on me, So while I say I want to be upfront, I can also not be, vulnerable as well. I didn't want a man to walk away thinking he had something on me. Whereas with Anthony, it didn't matter. I was just putting it all on the table and hoping for the best, and it worked out. So I would say for me, it would be those two.
I have no notes.
So you don't have an answer for that?
I feel like they put it up, it would just me be wanting to hear my voice.
All right, cool. So I took notes on what y'all were saying, and what I plugged from, majority of it, y'all all said this just in different ways. It's sacrifice. And so this is commitment part 2, but what we really nailing down on is sacrifice. I like Diamond because Diamond is like me, right? Pay attention to words because every word in the sentence means something. And so don't pay attention that there's no one up there. I didn't like the definition that one presented. But what sacrifice says is the act of giving up something highly valued for the sake of something else considered to have greater value or claim. And I really like this one too. Relinquishment something given up in its way, yeah, but relinquishment of something at less than its presumed value, something so relinquished, a loss so sustained. And so, what I do want to hit on, I'll just say this real quick. Inconvenience is not sacrifice. So I want y'all to remember, nothing I say is absolute or definite, but for the sake of this session, what we're talking about, I want to say inconvenience is not sacrifice. Sacrifice is a loss of something that's highly valued. Like people would say, man, I sacrificed my time to take you to work or do this and do that, such and such. No, you didn't. You just in your feelings because you were just inconvenienced about something, right? So that's what I want to make that distinction, because I want to go deep with this, because we want to ask some questions that it'll reveal like our perspective and our partner's perspective and help us to consider like y'all might ace this. I don't even know, y'all might ace this. I can't wait to get to it. Matter of fact, pull out your pens, right? So I want you to write down. Don't share this with your partner. Do not share this with your partner, right? What was your greatest sacrifice for your partner? Now, I'm going to put a little conviction in the air right now. If you do not have a greatest sacrifice for your partner, and I'm going to leave it right there. Yeah. And so you can think about it. I'll give you a little bit of time to think about it. Hold up. I put one. I think I put one in every chair. Oh, here, it's a bag with pens in it right there. Should be. I'm sorry. I should have checked them. That's my negligence. All right. And so the next question will be, do not share. What was your partner's greatest sacrifice for you? Yeah, we're going to answer that once we go around. Keep those answers separate. Don't share them with each other. Yeah. That's why we're here, because this is what's going to... You really got to think. That's the... Yeah. Well, whatever. So don't get thrown off by the word greatest like it got to be some big old grand thing, because that might not have even been necessary for your relationship. So just when you think greatest, just be like, all right, I know this was a sacrifice for this person. Even if this was the only sacrifice, it's technically the greatest. So it ain't got to be something big grand like they stood in front of a bullet, took one to the chest for me. It ain't got to be, you know. Don't look out the window. So. It's a strange day. I don't know. Yeah. All right. I'm going to pass it around now. If you can. No shoes, no socks, no shirt. Strange. It's strange out there. All right. We're not going to answer the first question. We're going to answer this question that's on the screen.
The first one?
Yeah. No. All right. So this was the first question. Right. What was yours? Yeah. Right now, we're going to answer this question. What was your partner's greatest sacrifice for you? Yeah.
I need proof of what?
She said, I need proof.
I'm good.
All right. The first one you definitely need to write down. This one, if you could just answer it, just answer. I don't care. But I'm going to pass this right now. If you don't know or you can't think of anything, because somebody else might say something that'll trigger it. So here, I'm going to pass this to Jalen.
I'm in deep thought right now.
You can go ahead. Go ahead, big dog.
All right, let me know if it makes sense. Okay. This is before I get to it. This is Jalen. So I'm not completely with this answer because I'm still trying to dissect the question. It's an in-depth question, but I believe my partner's greatest sacrifice for me would be, I want to say, patience. It took she sacrificed a lot of patience. Okay. Why do you see that as, okay. She sacrificed patience, and I say that because a lot of times we met each other at a very young age, 16. She was in 12th grade, I was in 11th. So mind you, people going to college a lot of times feel like that's their second life, that's their time to be free. And with like thinking of all of those factors, and that was my first relationship. I didn't have a girl. I never had a girlfriend before her. So I feel like our first couple of years, she fell in love with potential. And in our development process, in our years of developing, I feel that it was a lot of showing and proving, a lot of self-work, a lot of togetherness in our working of just growing from young adults to actual adults. And not only just being a couple, but being now married, being parents now. So it took a lot of patience from her when it comes to falling in love with that potential and actually staying and believing in me and believing in us enough to keep it going. Because everything that glitters ain't gold. It's not always gold at the end of the rainbow. So a lot of times you kind of you sacrificing your time, your attention, your effort with the thought or the illusion of hoping that things are going to work out the way you planned it to. So I feel like patience was like her greatest sacrifice, in my opinion.
This is Diamond. My greatest sacrifice. No.
Give me a second.
So his greatest sacrifice that I feel is the same exact thing that I put for myself. But his is more in depth. So if I could name something tangible, he sacrificed like a job for me. Not technically, but kind of somewhat. To be more specific, I had never had a panic attack before, like ever. Call him, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Like, I'm just all over the place. And he was already at work doing his thing. I was about to go to work. And he dropped everything and was like, meet me back at my house. Like, made sure that I was completely accommodated, made sure that his parents made sure that I was accommodated. Like, everything about him was to make sure that I was okay. Within that time, mind you, he's supposed to be at work. And some repercussions came from him, like leaving early and all of those things. So I think that that's a very tangible sacrifice that he made for me, because he didn't have to show up. Like, again, like, he was my boyfriend at the time, but nobody owes you anything. I'm having a panic attack. I didn't know what was happening. He didn't know what was happening. We was both just like, what the, but he showed up. So I really appreciated that. And he didn't have to. He could have been like, girl, I'm at work, call somebody, call the ambulance, call somebody, but, make it happen. And I really appreciate that. I would say that in that sacrifice, the deeper underlying meaning for me, for him, was selfishness. I think that he had gave up a lot of selfish ways in order to make our relationship work. I think that he gave up a lot of, independent mindset that made it able for us to grow. So yeah, I think that him sacrificing like his internship or job versus and that the deeper meaning was the sacrifice of his selfishness. And I truly appreciate you. Like, that meant a lot to me, because I didn't know what was going on, but homeboy was right by my side. No questions asked. I'm here for you. I'll deal with the consequences later. And yeah, that was that.
Beautiful. You want to go first?
Go ahead. No, I enjoy.
Which one am I answering first, though?
Black first.
Okay. All right. What was your partner's greatest sacrifice for you? I believe his greatest sacrifice for me was what did I say? No longer being alone, and no longer being alone because he never wanted marriage or children, and I found that out later on. Jalen, look, it's y'all two and it's Jalen. He said falling in love with the potential, and that was my problem the entire time. I was so in love with the potential, the person that I just knew he could become, and that's why I did not give up. I was like, no, he's going to be great. Yes, he's going to be amazing. Oh, sorry. Yes, his sacrifice, yes, was no longer being alone because he didn't want marriage, he didn't want children. Mine. Oh, now him. Oh, okay.
So, I think this is Kendall. I've been struggling with this question because the person we just talked about this today. The person I am an adjustable person, right? I adjust to everything. So when I think about the sacrifice that Sinatra had to make for me, it just always going back to values and beliefs. And the situations that we've been through in 10 years, I think she sacrificed putting herself first and her values first for the sake of our relationship to work. So I think I just want to say the values and beliefs of what she stood on were sacrificed for me. And I really appreciate that.
This is Anthony. I would say her greatest sacrifice would be timing and patience. Timing and patience. As you know, like, she's a talker. So, like, if we don't agree on something, like, she will want to talk and get it out the way, like, right now. And a lot of times, I be having to get myself together, and I believe, I believe she has worked on timing and patience for our communication to grow.
Hold on, why do you see that as a sacrifice for her?
Because I believe that's a sacrifice for her, because that's not who she is. Like, she really put in some work to become that person.
This is Raina. I would say Anthony's biggest sacrifice for me, and again, I'm gonna keep it a buck. He has taken some hits in the bedroom because of my childhood trauma. He has been very patient with that. Most men are just like, I need it, I want it, I'm going to get it, whether it's with you or somebody else. Some men make that the determining factor of who they're going to be with and, moving forward. Definitely not marriage. So I would say when Anthony thinks he does not have patience and says he's not patient, I have to greatly remind him, no, you have patience. You have patience. And yeah, and he is also the first guy I've been vulnerable with who knows about it. So I know the other side of it where men did not know and made their own decision because sex was the driving force, or it was a priority. So I always say, like, I don't care what happens, good or bad, I'm always going to be grateful for that. I see that as a sacrifice just for the very reason that I said. I mean, a lot of men, that is important to them. You can have everything else and, you know, that not be there, and, you know, it could be quits. So his patience has helped me learn to grow in that area and be more vulnerable, be more open and trusting in that area. So, yeah.
All right. So now this is what we're going to. Now this is what we're going to do. Now I want you to state what was your greatest sacrifice for your partner, and there's a reason why I did this.
Jalen.
Hold up. Say what's on that paper.
Oh. I ain't write nothing on the paper because I told you I couldn't think of it. But once she said something, I found my answer. It's actually her first answer. Selfishness. That was my greatest sacrifice. And I say that because I was very, very strong-headed or strong-minded on the concept of, like, independence. Even when it came to relationships, I was full-fledged for 50-50 on bills. Women are capable of this and that. But it was marriage. I was 16. I was 16. I ain't want to. When you too close, you sound crazy. But thank you, though. But I was young, so it took years of me not having full responsibility, not knowing what it took to be in a household, taking care of full bills. So that whole mindset and thought process of working for myself, everything I do is for me first, which in the grand scheme of things it is, but to be honest, that's a hard mindset to get past, because you gotta be considerate when you're in a relationship and you make that decision to be committed, to care for their feelings, to make a relationship not only just last, but to make it a good relationship, a thriving relationship. It's a lot of sacrifice that goes into it, and a lot of ways you got to put to rest if you want things to move forward. So my thought process on bills, just kind of having a mindset that we're an army, but I'm a one-man band. And that shit was toxic. Excuse my language if we can't curse on it. It wasn't doing us no good. And it was also an immature way of thinking. But the only way for me to get to that stage, get to that part of my understanding was to go through it. So I would definitely say my selfish ways, or just a selfish mindset and all.
This is Diamond. Like I said before, my answer was pretty much the same. I felt like we both sacrificed, again, our selfishness. For me, I feel like a lot of times, because I have much older parents, so I tend to be, I guess, more mature than a lot of people in my age group. And especially for him, it was a lot of like, not necessarily like me teaching him anything, but a lot of my perspective and mindset on like the world and life. I was like, dog, like you're missing it. You're not getting it. But I will always tell him, one day you're going to see what I'm talking about. One day you're going to see what I mean, and you're going to look back and be like, dang, she was right. And it comes to a lot of things. Like I grew up like super duper like pro-black to the bone, like down to my core. I am black with a big B. Like, so for him, he grew up like, it is what it is, I'm good, and he's had experiences that were very diverse. I've had very diverse experiences. However, I've always known in the back of my mind, we as a people come first as my priority. And he didn't see it that way. So to me, it was a lot of like, you're missing it when it comes to like our people, our community. that's a very selfish mindset. So again, for me, it came with the reality that I don't know best. I don't always know how to communicate the smoothest or what have you. And it took a lot of selfishness for my mindset to grow and be like, dude, you may know a few more things when it comes to a few more things than him, but you don't know everything. Like sometimes I be dead wrong. And sometimes my approach, because I do know something, even if I am right, it could be wrong. Like, even though I see this car right here and you about to swerve and you may not be paying attention, I don't have to sit there and be like, dude, what the heck are you doing? Like, you're going to kill us, So, it's like just sacrificing like, all right, he see this, he see this, he see this, he see this. Okay, hey, be careful. And sometimes I do have a tendency to kind of overstep when I feel like I'm overly right. And I gave up that to be like, look, I don't have the answer, Sway. So that was my greatest sacrifice, to know that I love him. Like, I'm willing to be wrong for him. And I was never that type of person, ever.
Ooh, baby. This is Sinatra. Yes. Ooh, y'all said everything there. Oh, yes. What was my greatest sacrifice? I wrote that mine was moving here. Huh? Yeah, that would have to be moving here. I didn't notice it in the moment though, because I was so ready. But now I'm like, I really gave up a lot. Like, my entire family is in Philadelphia. Granted, some people be like, oh, that's not far. It's far, especially because I had a family. Our families are different. Our immediate families are different, but the dynamic of our families are pretty much the same, how much we love one another, how close we are and stuff. But he was already separated from his family, his entire family. Meanwhile, I had mine all my life. We saw each other maybe 5 to 6 times out of the 7-week day. And if we went longer than 2-3 days without seeing each other, it's like, hey, what's up? What y'all doing? When we having dinner? Let's pick up some KFC real quick. We meeting at grandma's house or Aunt Karen's house or something. So to go from that to I'm all alone. And then like I stated before, he's been a loner. He's the only child. That's just his life. He can keep it moving like that. Me, I'm like, where are my people? Where are my friends? Where's my family? So that was definitely I would say my greatest sacrifice that I made for us.
I'm good. Good money. So, this is Kendall. Jalen, I'm just like you, my boy. Yeah, man, I'm the only child. My mother is a strong-willed black woman that thinks like a man. And she once told me that your 20s are when you're supposed to be selfish to yourself. And I took that literally. Very much so. Very much so. And I did not want to get married, and I did not want to have any kids. I literally wanted to live life by myself. I wanted to be as independent as I could. And it was all about Kendall. It was nothing else but all about Kendall. So for me, my greatest sacrifice was to give that up. And it took me a while to give it up. Very long time. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think I'm all the way there. I'll say 75 to 80%, maybe, on a good day. But giving up that pie, that 80% of that pie, was very, very, very difficult. I'm not going to lie. You know, but in order for me to make this work, I had to do what I had to do. We had our first kid at 23, and it was at that point when I had to realize, like, okay, I have to share something, you know, and then things started progressing, and then I started to have to share more, and then share more. But remember, I am the only child, so you know, sharing wasn't in my DNA. I don't like to share, you know what I mean? And I still don't, but I do it because I sacrifice. So I think the greatest sacrifice for this relationship was for me to give of my selfishness for the greater good. You're welcome.
He did. Oh no.
Drop the mic.
This Anthony again. I would say my greatest sacrifice for my partner would be me working on myself as far as like the way I grew up, like not realizing how much trauma I went through that made me act and talk a certain type of way. So me getting help on dealing with that and trying to get over that is my biggest sacrifice.
This is Raina. I would say my biggest sacrifice for Anthony would be keeping the faith when things go wrong, and not giving up. Anthony has literally been on his deathbed twice since we've been together, where I've had to prepare for death twice. And I remember the very first time it happened, we were not married, and it was hard. It was really hard. It was hard for a few reasons. It was hard because it's one thing to be with somebody and you look at them just as your spouse or as your husband or as your boyfriend. And if something happens, that piece is missing. It's another thing when you look at your spouse as your spouse and your best friend. So a feeling of being lost, just period. And also, it was the very first time I had to figure things out for everybody in the household. Financially, making decisions with doctors, and still taking care of our son. And I remember when I first got through it, and, you know, he came out like, I'm alive. I'm like, yeah, you are. But spiritually, I'm dead, okay? And I remember having a talk with myself like, you know, it's not his fault. And things happen. It's not like this happens every day. And people get sick. Fast forward, a year after we were married, he almost died again. I spent our first anniversary alone. It took me back. No, it wasn't, not to the date, but it was a few years later. Oh, you're talking about our anniversary. No, it wasn't a year to the date. It was about a couple of months apart. And he said I could be honest. When COVID first came out, Anthony is a first responder. So he immediately caught COVID when they knew nothing about it. And, you know, we weren't even shelter in place yet. That's how early it was. And it was the craziest thing. You remember, it was like the craziest thing to watch because it was like literally one day it was a cough And then the next day, and not the next day, but it felt like the next day, where I'm getting ready to sign papers to put him on a ventilator. And I'm told to call for the life insurance. They didn't think he was going to make it and things like that. And I just remember at that point, just looking back, you made it through the first time. And kind of building on that strength to get through it and learning that this is what marriage and partnership and teamwork is all about. Put yourself aside. You got to figure this out. And I'm not used to doing that. I am used to when things get hard, deuces. Like, I could figure something else out that's a little easier. But with him now.
Girl, you lost words. I ain't got nothing to say.
Nah, that's deep. And I honor you for even admitting that. Like how, I mean, it might not be hard for you to say, but saying that when things get tough, a lot of people not going to admit that they have that kind of countenance. But I asked y'all the order of questions for a reason. I had y'all write them down for a reason, right? So I wanted y'all to share what you believe was your partner's greatest sacrifice for you first. And then we shared, right? So Jalen cheated because she told him first, and so he came around and ended up giving the same answer, right? She sparked the idea. And so because he didn't write anything down, that was his only one. But this is what I want us to look at. And I asked her like that for a reason, right? Did y'all have the same answers? So I'm asking this because you said her greatest, I can't remember what you said her greatest sacrifice was, but what I'm asking is, yeah, that's exactly. You said the greatest sacrifice was patience. And I mean, it kind of go together because she said her greatest sacrifice was letting go of her selfishness. Now, what I'm asking is, check your partner's response. Did they line up? And the only reason I'm asking that, right, because I made it personal so that when you read it, it's like you're asking yourself, right? So it's saying, did we have the same answers for each other? Like, what I thought was her greatest sacrifice, is this what she said her greatest sacrifice was? Or what I said was his greatest sacrifice, is this what he said his I'm working. Or do I notice the value my partner holds to certain things? So, for instance, like you said, you thought his greatest sacrifice would have been the sheets. And he just told you something completely different. I'm going to let y'all talk this out, though, right? But you answer these things. Do I notice the value my partner holds to certain things? Do I value them alike? Like, so, I don't think I have to explain this. Because I don't want to give y'all answers. I want y'all to, yeah, so.
This is Jalen. Did we have the same answers for each other? Yes, I actually did expect her to have that answer. Do I notice the value my partner holds to certain things? Without a doubt.
According to
her.
According to what her answer was about her greatest sacrifice.
Okay. Yeah. Yes, I do notice the value she holds when it comes to her answer because of her being observant enough to sacrifice for the greater good. She could have been selfish, which she was. I mean, like she could have been what she changed, which was her greatest sacrifice. But she could have stayed in that same mind frame. But she seen a greater good in myself, seen a greater good in us. Despite having a mindset of trying to change me or what she thought she could foreshadow of me, she stayed the course. And as we both could see, it turned out better than we both expected it to, in my opinion. Do I value them alike? Yes. As you can see, we had the same answer. And lastly, have I been sacrificing what I want or what is necessary or even at all? Now, question for you, is this me asking myself that?
Yes.
Okay.
So what we have to do, go ahead. I'm not gonna set the time for this one because it's questions that each of you gotta answer. Yeah. But what we would have to do, that's why I said let's assess at the top, that especially with that last one, like have I been sacrificing what I want or what is necessary or even at all? I asked the question about do I notice their value based on what they said their greatest sacrifice was? Like, because whether I did or I did not see that as their greatest sacrifice is telling me whether I valued it alike. Because you're judging your partner's greatest sacrifice based on your perception. A lot of times I might say like, he sacrificed this or she sacrificed this, and I look at it as a big deal, but it might not have been a big deal for them. It might have been something that you didn't think was a big deal. And that's why I'm asking, have I been sacrificing what I want because of what I think they need, what I think is they're going to appreciate, what I think is necessary, or what actually is necessary according to their values?
I believe I have been sacrificing for both what I want, but most importantly, what we want and what needs to be done in order for us to continue to grow, especially as being married and being parents. So it's like a different dynamic, a different thought process of things. But my sacrifice of not being a person that I once was, or being stuck or giving excuses of why I can't change or why I can't handle what it is I want to handle, that will not only hold me back, but it'll hold my family back. Because I'm not progressing or pushing myself to be a better version of myself. I feel like we all have to constantly evolve, constantly reinvent ourselves just based on the situations we're in. So last year I was a boyfriend. I became a father first. 2 months later I became a husband. Those are two of the hugest, thank you so much. But it's like, I can't look at things from a boyfriend perspective anymore. You have to evolve, and it's not about me anymore, it's about them. And myself as well, so us as a unit. So I feel like, yes, that sacrifice is best for me because I want better for myself, but it's great for us all because without me trying to seek improvement, I feel like we'll be stagnant. Yes.
I know y'all gonna do the politically correct thing because your partner's sitting right here in front of you. But be honest as much as possible. I also want you to answer or ask, I want you to answer, do you feel your partner has been sacrificing what is necessary?
I for sure feel like she has been sacrificing what was necessary. And I'll say for a long period of time. I played football most of the time that we were together. So up until 2017, from 2011 to 2017, it was straight football, high school, college. That required me to not be able to work as much as I wanted to. So courting was limited because I was always playing. I ain't had no job. I wait for refund checks, but that's within months. So as a man, as a boyfriend, not being able to do those things, it not only makes you feel away, but it also affects your relationship, whether your girlfriend tells you it's okay or not. It matters. So despite her being understanding, she sacrificed so much from not just a financial standpoint, but being understanding and being in a point where she doesn't look at the social norm as like, oh, if you don't got no money or if you're not able to do this, then I ain't got no time for you. But saying that I'm not just not having money for no reason. I'm in school. I'm a full-time athlete, so it's like I'm busy in a sense. But seeing her allow me that space and allow me the grace to not have it at the time, I feel like it's only necessary for me to, at this time, turn it over. Everything is on me. And from moving forward, again, I'm a husband and father now, so that's more of a mature way of thinking. So yes, I do feel like that she sacrificed more than enough, honestly, because patience, again, and falling in love with potential that can destroy a person, and it ain't guaranteed to happen. So, yes.
This is Diamond. We had the same answer. So, which was selfishness, and I pretty much think that was the core of what it was that we were saying. But more tangible, I feel like your sacrifice was like that job. Did I notice the value that yes. So I noticed that he holds certain things near and dear to him, as far as like just making sure that he can accommodate me, and making sure that there are things that I don't have to worry about financially, or because he's taking care of it. So yes, I've noticed that he's held certain things close to me for himself as well. Do I value them alike, or do we value them alike? Yes. I know how selfish I can be, and I know how selfish he can be when it comes to, and I don't mean selfish in a bad way at all, just in that thought process of like it's about me, or whether it's my emotions, my time, my feelings, whatever, the selfishness of it all. And I think that we both value that we have things that make us unique individually, but together it makes us greater. So therefore it's worth the sacrifice. So that's why we value them alike. Have I been sacrificing what I want or what is necessary, or even at all? So to me, for him, he feels like my time and things like that I sacrifice for potential. But to me, I didn't feel like it was a sacrifice. Because for me, beyond a romantic relationship, as a friend first, or I was there for him as a friend, and like just a regular partnership. So it didn't have anything to do necessarily with the romantic love. It was just more so of the loyalty, like, nah, I'm a friend. I'm here to the end. If you need this, I got you. You know, if you need me to help you out or whatever, like the same thing went both ways. So I don't feel that I've really sacrificed a whole bunch, because he sacrificed things for me as well, in the same realm. So yeah, have I been sacrificing? Yeah, that's why honestly, that's a hard question. I can say that I have sacrificed if the self-righteous and selfishness in me says that I've been sacrificing, but I haven't. When it comes to what I consider to be a sacrifice of our relationship, I've never had to lose anything. I've gained a lot from us being together, versus anything. But yeah, so.
This is Sinatra. Did we have the same answers? One of our answers were the same, which was basically selfishness, because I said, him no longer wanting to be, no longer being alone, never wanting children, never wanting marriage. That one was the same, but the one for me was, he has answered. Oh, okay. All right. Do I notice the value my partner holds to certain things?
Speaking about your greatest sacrifice.
Oh, most certainly. Most certainly, because he didn't have to. He did not have to at all. He had a huge choice to make, as I stated this discussion a long time ago. But I left right before, trying to figure out what we were going to do. We going to continue this, or are we moving forward? Because we had already been together for 7 years, and I knew it was time, but he needed to see it for himself, and I left. So seeing that he made the choice to go ahead and keep this going, I most certainly see the value in that sacrifice that he made. I was about to say, not really. I don't think so. But hey, it was a decision, It was a decision. Yeah. Do I value them alike? I would say yes. I do value them alike. You talking about my hit? Do I sacrifice? Do I?
You said it was his greatest sacrifice.
Uh huh.
Do you value that sacrifice alike?
Yes. Yes, I do value his sacrifice. I thank him. Yes, he does a whole lot. Like, honestly, I keep a lot of stuff to myself because I feel like certain friends or family just wouldn't understand. I'm extremely blessed. Extremely. If I could cry right now, I would, but I ain't gonna do that to y'all tonight. I ain't gonna do it. But I am, I am extremely, extremely blessed. I never really knew. I knew how I wanted my life to be, but like I explained to him before, he could paint a picture of how he wanted his life to be. Me, I waited for whatever open doors God had for me ahead of me. I just was going, and I'm just like, all right, Lord, if that's what you want from me, fine. You know, but for him, he knew what he wanted. So making this sacrifice and then seeing everything that he has given, being obedient to God and all of that, like that is mind-blowing to me. So I'm truly grateful and blessed to have you. I let him know each time that I see that he has gotten better. I don't even think he realizes how much he has grown. He's grown a whole lot. Makes me fall in love each time. Seriously, each time he grows, it makes me fall in love even more. I be like, oh my God. Which is why I said, I realized that men are more simple, you know, than I thought. Because I'm like, wow, I was really hard on you on certain things. But he needed it, in my opinion. He needed it. Good job. Have I been sacrificing what I want or what is necessary or even at all? And my answer was moving, right? Is that how I'm answering it?
That was your answer?
Right. Okay. Sorry, y'all. It's funny because I think it's
This last question is in full with your greatest sacrifices. We talk about
what I think he with.
now to sustain a relationship, to keep.
Have I been sacrificing what I want or what is necessary? I think it's both. I think it's what I want and what's necessary. Okay, yeah, I definitely. Okay, yeah, I think it's both. Because I go to God for a lot of things, and a lot of things that God says is necessary, I may not want to do, and I do it anyway, which is a sacrifice. But yeah, I think it's both. And then you told me to flip it, right?
Yeah, you think he was sacrificing
Okay.
necessary? Well, you kind of already said.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. So here you go.
All right, this is Kendall. Do we have the same answers for each other? No. Mine was selfishness and hers was moving. But I kind of knew that was like she said, like a tangible thing. That moving here from Philadelphia was uprooting her whole life to come here and didn't have her immediate family. I know her family is very, very close to each other. So, no, we didn't have the same answers. Do I notice the value my partner holds to certain things? Yeah, of course. So when you ask this question, are we just talking? Right. Yeah, every time. I know she does a great job of hiding her homesickness. And I think she, so Philadelphia, you guys don't know, but Philadelphia is definitely not the place to be right now. It's a very, very dangerous place to be. And I think that plays a part in her going back as well, because where her family lives or whatever, it is kind of dangerous there. And I don't feel comfortable at all with her going there, but family is family, right? And so, yes, I do notice the value in it, but again, it's a very, very dangerous place. So we are where we are now. Do I value them alike? Yes, I do. So basically saying, like, do I value my...
that's why if you said yes, you evaluate them alike. I was going to be like, that's very intriguing because you being the only child, not having to have that.
So we're talking about her.
Yeah.
Okay.
Her
So.
greatest sacrifice. Do you value that?
Oh, I do, because my family is a very, very close knit family. I was raised the only child, but I would go to Cleveland every summer, and my cousins we were very close. So and I'm still close to one of them, at least one of them right now. I talk to them every day, but and then I would say sometimes I don't understand it because I am only child, and I am very, I can adjust, like I said, and I was away from, when I went to college, I was 4 hours away, 5 hours away or whatever, and I never came home. Did I get homesick? Of course, but I never really, I was by myself, and I grew up by myself, so why not, right? So I understand where she's coming from. I can sympathize, but I can't really empathize, yes. And then, have I been sacrificing what I want or what is necessary or even at all? Yes. So I have been sacrificing my selfishness for the relationship. I try to finding that balance of me putting my family first and putting me first was tough for me at first. And but now that we are expecting another child, in which that pie again is going to get even more bigger from 80% to seems like 90% at this point. But yeah, so I have been sacrificing. I will continue to sacrifice because I love her. I love what we've built. I love everything about it. And yeah, man, it's been a great ride. And the sacrifice that I've made, I think has made it such. So, yeah.
This is Anthony again. Did we have the same answers for each other? No. Do I notice the value my partner holds to certain things? Absolutely. Her vulnerability shows that, she went above and beyond and had to do, uncomfortable things that she went through to make our bond and our foundation stronger. Do I value them alike? Yes. Have I been sacrificing what I want or what is necessary or even at all? I would say both, because I want to be the best me for this partnership, and it's necessary for me to do that so our bond can be as strong as it can be.
This is Raina. Did we have the same answers for each other? Explain to me again what that is.
What you thought his greatest sacrifice was, and he say that it was what you thought it was.
No. Do I notice the value my partner holds to certain things?
But look, let me ask you this.
Okay.
Because y'all have an interesting one also. Do you notice his sacrifice when he said his greatest sacrifice was?
Yes.
Because he said, what you said it was? You said it was your greatest sacrifice was working on yourself.
Right.
Because of the
Yes.
past trauma and how you was raised.
Yes, I do notice the value, and I know exactly when I noticed that value, just like you all. I actually called our wedding. I called off our wedding the very first time. Everyone had bridesmaids dresses. All deposits were down. Lost out on all of that money. Because Anthony made a laugh, with his attitude. And it was just scary, thinking like, I'm about to sign the dotted lines with this, and I can't put a cost on that. And I was done. And he decided at that moment, he made a decision of what it was he really wanted, and, took the time to work on himself. And 3 years later, we were married. So I know that is important to him, as hard as it can be to continue to grow in that area. And I know he can struggle with it sometimes because he is just used to going left. So I know, he values being a better person for us. Do I value them alike? Okay. Have I been sacrificing what I want or what is necessary or even at all? Explain that one for me. Oh. She scared me, Brian. Our overall relationship, I think that I sacrifice what's necessary. Anthony is a workaholic. Yes, he is a workaholic. So, I have to pick up the slack. And sometimes I'm tired and beaten down and just like, is it worth it? Is all this money that's coming in, is it worth it? When I look at the bigger picture of the toll that it takes on his time away from his son, and our son is going to be 16, so he's doing big things now that, Anthony kind of has to schedule to be there for. The toll it takes on our marriage, our friendship, our bond. I've asked myself that, and the answer is, I feel like he has a goal right now. So supporting his goal, even if that means sacrificing all of those different areas that I just named, it's worth it. Because I do believe in the end, we are a priority, our marriage is a priority, and it will all come full circle at some point. So while I say I've been sacrificing, I feel like it's worth it.
You said something interesting that I didn't even think about, right? And I was like, dang, that's dope. And it's a testament of y'all relationship. You was like, I don't even know if you noticed you said this when I asked you about have you been sacrificing what's necessary, and you said something along the lines, basically you said, I don't feel like it's a sacrifice because he does it. So it's like my partner sacrificing and me sacrificing. It's like it doesn't even seem like we're sacrificing anymore. It's just making a relationship work, and it doesn't feel like you're taking a loss. Because you remember the definition of it was to lose something that's highly valued, and you was like, I don't even feel like it's a sacrifice no more because he does it. And I thought that was pretty dope, and it made me think. I was like, dang, all right. Because when I was giving all of this, I'm thinking to myself, this is how I just think about relationships just as a man. Like, we have to sacrifice. I'm not saying women don't, but I told you I don't know how to speak to them, so just bear with me. But I feel like, it's not saying that we're greater than women, but I'm just, as a man, I feel like we have to sacrifice a lot. Just like I asked my guy at work, I asked him this question. I said, what's your greatest sacrifice for your wife? And he said, letting her stay home when they had kids. Because it went from one income to him carrying all of the weight. And I asked him what would have been his wife's greatest sacrifice, and he said, bearing my daughters. And then I asked him, what do you think she would say her greatest sacrifice is? And that's why I asked about the values. Because when I asked him, do you think she would say the same thing? He's like, nah. And I'm like, why? Because she wanted kids. To him, his fear of losing his wife because she had miscarriages and then had complications with the second born. She had, I guess he thinks she had a miscarriage, then she had a stillborn, and then she was had an at-risk pregnancy or something. But she doesn't look, her faith may just be on a different level or something. She didn't look at it like that. And so that's why I was like, man, these are some interesting questions, because you're looking at it like, man, my wife could die in pregnancy, and you looking like that she's sacrificing her body for my child. Wife like, I ain't looking at this no sacrifice. I really want this. I'm trusting God will get me through this. It could be more of a sacrifice for her, like, man, I got to cook dinner for this joker every day coming home, and I ain't never had to do this. Yeah. So, but I do want to ask y'all a question, because you just said something too, and I'm going to hand you this, right? You ain't got to answer it if you don't want to. But you put it out there, so you can tell me if you don't want to. You asked yourself, is it worth it, all this money coming in, right? And what I heard is it's putting a strain on the relationship. And so I'm going to ask you, would it be worth it to sacrifice the work for the sake of the relationship, to bring a tighter bond, to enhance it, to whatever is necessary for the relationship? Which one do you think? Y'all talk it out between yourselves. This is something we ain't never did before. But because you said you asked yourself, have you asked him that? Like, is it worth it? Because you're thinking about the family, you're thinking about your marriage, but there's a compromise to where money's coming in. I don't know if you thought about it, but here, I'm going to give y'all this.
I think I have asked you. This is a recent raw conversation we're having now. Yeah. I know that Anthony.
Hold up, say that in the mic, because I think that's important.
Right.
All right, this is Anthony again. I'm going to just give you my schedule, okay? So I work 2 full-time jobs. I work 16 hours a day, 5 days a week. Some days my schedule fall where I have to work like almost 24 hours a day, right? But my part-time job, I had to go full-time because we was losing a lot of people. And I'm a supervisor, so I had to step in. But at some point, when the bodies start coming back in, I'm going to go back part-time. That was the goal. That is the goal. So it's like, because I'm working so much, I'm rarely home. And when I'm home, my son is at school and she's probably at work. So.
This is Raina. So what I would like to add to that very busy schedule that is vital is that second full-time job, he works overnight. We don't sleep together. Okay. Yeah. And this, let me just put this disclaimer out here. I don't worry about what he do at night, because whatever you could do at night, you could do during the day. I'm just not that girl. He already knows. Like, that's the deal breaker for me. If I have to worry about that and sit somewhere and worry about what you're doing when you're not in my sight, because loyalty is number one to me, that's a deal breaker for me. So that has nothing to do with it at all. It is more of just the things that happen in the bedroom. You know, you end your day with your man, or with your partner. That's just where you take a woosah and just know that the day is over. Let's go to bed together. And so that is missing. However, with all that being said, I do know that, Anthony, has a goal as far as his career. And we come from different backgrounds. So he came from a single mom, and I came from a two-parent household. Growing up, I didn't know what struggle was. I remember like living in the ghetto, but it wasn't struggle. It wasn't a struggle. I don't remember being in a position where I had to worry about whether my mother was going to be able to pay for a field trip or whether I was going to be able to get some. It's just two of us. So, and we're 8 years apart. So I've pretty much always gotten what I wanted. I was lucky enough to go to school and my parents paid for college. And I didn't look for a man for money. I had my own money and my family has money. So I didn't need a man for money. So when Anthony came along, I was pretty, independent, and, finances and building money and, building wealth was new to him. So, his career kind of slowly took off, and like now it's like bam, So it's like I remember times where he wished that his career would take off. And now that it is, yes, it is frustrating. It is. But I don't want to rain on that parade and not be supportive. I don't want to rain on that parade and not be supportive. But meanwhile, I'll be glad when it comes to an end. We are planning to have another baby. That is a big factor. His schedule is a big factor. He need to get up in the middle of the night and feed that baby and change them diapers, and I'm going to sleep. You can't do that at work. So, eventually I know that it will, like I said, come full circle, and it'll all work out like it has in the past.
Yes, those are good. This is Dara. I just be trying to contribute when I got something to say. I ain't trying to just say nothing. So, what did you hear me say? I heard you say some very amazing things. In the podcast, AJ and I have had this conversation over and over and over again, but we had this love and respect episode that it was controversial, girl. Honestly, it was one of the most controversial conversations that I've ever had in my life, because there were just a lot of things that I just didn't know about men. I understand what a woman is. We understand when we speak womanese. That's what we call it, womanese. But it's certain things about them that I just was like, that doesn't make any sense. And I'm learning that it doesn't have to make sense, because they're created in a way that is perfect for what their cause is for our lives, and vice versa. Mm-hmm. So when I heard you say that he's not at home, that y'all don't sleep together, something in my mind said, whoa, that's not gonna work out. I'm not like your marriage. That doesn't work for us as women. It just doesn't. And my parents don't mind me speaking on it, but my mom and my stepdad, that was an issue for them. My stepdad would come in the house and he would literally go to their room. He would literally go to their room, change or shower or whatever the case, and he would sleep downstairs on the couch. He would watch his crime shows, and my mom would be upstairs in the bed. Now, see, my stepfather, he's thinking, I'm out the way, I'm doing me. I'm out, I'm kind of I'm not causing any issue. I'm not ruffling the bed. He's thinking that he's okay, right? I'm not messing my wife up. She getting some good sleep tonight. Here's the thing. We want you to interrupt our night. We want you to sleep beside us. That's you loving on us, right? That's you participating in our part of the relationship, right? We want, it don't matter if you don't even really roll over good. We just want you in the bed. That's you loving on us. You're so funny. You are so hilarious. I'll give it right back to you. But in that love and respect episode, I learned though, Raina, that for them it's about the respect. While you and I have come from very similar backgrounds, because I was the same way. I wanted for nothing. Like even when my parents divorced, my mom made sure and my grandfather made sure that I needed absolutely nothing and I wanted absolutely nothing. So that idea of money or ever being poor or broke or what, that's not something I worry about every day. I'm gonna get what I need to get, right? But for men though, the way in which they're formatted is I have to provide for my family. I have to protect my family. If they're not doing that, it's a level of worthlessness that even you can't stroke. They don't need to sit next to you or lay next to you in the bed in order to be, I'm going ahead. I'm sorry. But that's the thing. They don't need, like, them laying in the bed next to you is not it's not a fulfillment of who they are. The fulfillment is I'm at work to make sure that JJ and Raina are good. Like they're provided for. You know what I mean? Like the bills are paid. And you're like, but they're going to be paid, babe. The Lord is good, you know? But he's like, but he tasked me with a job to make sure that they are. Like everything is good. So it's like we have to just, and I'm so glad that came up because I feel like this is the essence of the podcast. This is the essence of why we're here. Is like they're both important. So how is it that we can find that groove where you can do a little more of that and I can do a little bit more of this, of respecting the fact that you're going to have to work, babe. Like you got to get out there. A man don't work, don't eat. You want to eat? You got to work. At the end of the day though, but you want me to respect you, a level of respect is going to come from me being able to hold you or being held by you because I feel like you want to be there. That's us. Like, we want you to participate in that way. So, I hope I broke that down a little bit and didn't mess up AJ's fluff. Oh, wait, Raina?
Yeah, I'm going to give it back to you.
Oh, you want to get, okay.
Yeah, I just want to quote a famous philosopher. He said, you always complain about me never being at home. But when I'm there, I'm broke. Bobby Womack.
This is Raina. So I was stroking Anthony because when I say this is a raw conversation, it is so raw, it's not even funny. Anthony loves PlayStation. So that is his way of relax. But let me.
Call of Duty. 2K? You got the mouse.
I apologize ahead of time. I apologize. Okay. Y'all good? You got it? Okay. So, in his defense, when I met him, he was like that. Homeboy came to my house with his PlayStation. So, I can't say like he switched up or anything like that. But the point that I'm making is that, you know, his relaxation is in the basement in his man cave arguing back and forth with people that he's never seen in his life. Okay? Yeah. So that arguing with those people is relaxing to him. Which shows the type of personality and aggression that he has that relaxes him. So, you know, the other day, you know, we were having a conversation. I'm supporting your goal. And what I will also say about Anthony is that just like you said, you know, he goes to work, that it's important that he, you know, provides. I want for nothing. Anything I ask him to buy, he's going to do it. The same thing for my son. Especially my son. I can tell that it's important to him that he never, not that he never tells him no, because he will tell him no, but I can tell he doesn't want to see our son in a position that he was in as a child, where other kids were getting and he does not. So that is the other push behind working so much. But to Dara's point, you know, when you work that many hours, and I am accepting it, your free time, you got to be able to divide that up the right way. You got to be able to go downstairs in the basement, argue with people that's not there. You got to be able to, you got to be able to, we just bought a house. Like, I don't care how supportive I'm going to be. I'm never going to do yard work. I'm not doing yard work. So there's certain responsibilities in the house that have to be done. There are things that, I cannot teach our son. It's funny. Our son just came home with a hickey on his neck. Like, I really cannot teach him why that is not okay. Other than the fact that I'm your mother, and if you do it again, other than the fact that I'm your mother, and when you do it again, I'm going to bust you in your head. Whereas his father is able to tell him, the value of, that's just not what you need to be doing. And then, his response was, his exact response, Dara, was, you know what? You don't like sports. And my team is in the championship. I don't know if we're talking about football or basketball. I don't know what season we are in right now, nor do I care. His team is in the championship. My bad, because there's a difference. Clearly. They're in the playoffs, right? They in the playoffs. And, they got to win. And then I'm trying to get this Shop something on PlayStation. What is it? Shop. Some level he's trying to get on the PlayStation. And then you wake up at the crack of dawn to go to work. I need you to get your rest. So that's why I be downstairs. And you don't like watching what I watch. So I be trying to give you the TV. It's 4 or 5 TVs in the house. I be trying to give you the TV. So he looks like he's respecting my space. I'm going to keep it a buck. I know that some of that is some bullshit. I do truly feel, I do believe that he knows that I don't want to watch sports, and he wants to watch it, so he gives me the TV. I do believe he's genuinely giving me the TV. But I also know, what it is for real. I'll leave it there. I know what it is for real. But, I had to tell him, that's all fine. But in all seriousness, in order for this to work and us to continue to thrive, you got to be able to divide that time up, your free time, equally. And, throw a little salt in each department. And I think, we'll be fine. Yeah.
Dope. Nah, that's dope. I'm glad you did that. Because it brings me right into this. There's definitely more different types of sacrifices. These are just the obvious. Physical, we don't have to, elaborate on that. We know the physical sacrifices that some people make. For instance, I know at my job, used to work with a guy. He said he told his wife she couldn't get over a certain weight before he married her. He said, if I ain't marry you like that, then don't get like that. But they agreed. So she made physical sacrifices to keep herself in shape after having a family and everything. Whatever, I mean, I know some women that don't want their men to be skinny or be overweight. So it is what it is. But what she was just explaining, what I was hearing was a lot of emotional sacrifices, because she said, I know he has a goal. And she said something that was powerful that we actually spoke about in one of the previous sessions back then, about his trauma, how he grew up in relation to how she grew up. And so that allowed her to have that gray space for all right, well, this is not what she said, but this is what I'm hearing. All right, I'm going to sacrifice my emotion, how I'm feeling, because I know that this is why he's doing this. And that's honorable. So, I'm going to go to the next slide, unless one of y'all, if y'all feel like, I think we should just take the time, because she done did it. She done started it up. If you want to share, how you've been sacrificing to your partner, whether physically, mentally, emotionally, because I just feel like we don't communicate that often. If you want to.
Yeah, let me just finish. Okay. This is Jalen. Okay, cool. So, this is honestly just off the top of the head. Some common sacrifices I feel that I show in our relationship would be me being, that goes unnoticed. My patience, like seriously, my patience, and this goes back to my statement before regarding the evolution of just me growing. Having a lack of patience for maybe like a conversation, being so headstrong and so focused on trying to get my point across. At one point, I felt like I was going through a phase of wanting to be heard in our relationship, where instead of me having a conversation to understand or for us to be in a better space by the end of the conversation, I just wanted to be heard. I wanted my point to be across. I didn't care if you got your point across. I need you to understand me. That didn't go so well. Not only was it detrimental to our relationship, but it was detrimental to me personally, because it's like a lot of times we ended conversations where I didn't feel heard. I didn't handle it where it wasn't communicated in a healthy manner because I took it so personal. So it went from me genuinely coming off as like it's bothering me, but me getting so personal that I can be off-putting in my tone, the way I'm coming at her. So it's no longer a conversation, it's more so me complaining. So with me having a self-evaluation over the years and getting to a point where it's like I see that I'm doing the same thing and it's not getting me anywhere. So in this day and time, I feel like one of the hugest sacrifices, me being patient and understanding to the point where when we have conversations, I'm listening to understand, try to create a solution, not being biased or not, again, holding any assumptions. If I have any questions, or if I have any misunderstandings or she has any misunderstandings, I need to ask those questions so I don't have to ask again, or I don't have to be in my mind wondering whether I'm doing it right. My partner's right here, or I can simply ask. But being with someone for at a good period of time, being with someone for a long period of time, you tend to kind of get used to their way of responding, their way of doing things. So it's like you either got to change or y'all change together. So in this case, that patience was a huge one for me, or just not wanting to focus so much on being heard or being headstrong to the point where my opinion matters and not hers. From an emotional standpoint, I would say it's something that I feel like I should do better in, honestly, but me not expressing everything that's on my mind, which I don't always feel is necessary. Despite being in a marriage, we are individuals before we are husband and wife. So everything honestly does not deserve a conversation. Everything does not need to be conversed with your partner. Some stuff need to be in your head. Because to be honest with you, despite that being your best friend or being your companion, we supposed to spread this? My bad. I thought it was 5 each. Okay, so to finish my thought, I think it's important, one, to just keep some personal things, personal matters to yourself, and not always have it spill over to, your family or into the house. You could be having stuff going on at work, or money problems. You can have personal problems, might be gaining weight, maybe feeling self-conscious about yourself. We grown. We still have those feelings. But, we have feelings. So not having that spill over into our relationship or our household to create a negative atmosphere. So I do want to work on that as well, but I do feel like that's a sacrifice for the greater good of not bringing my issues or making stuff about myself.
I agree. But yeah, no, I just agree with what it was that he was saying, especially when it comes to mental. That was the thing that stuck out to me. And just making sure that I don't take everything mentally and internalize it, that everything is about me. If he's having a moment where he doesn't want to speak or he want to take some time to decompress or play the game or what have you, sometimes I've tripped out and been like, well, in my mind, not physically, like tripping out, like, dang, why you don't want to spend time with me? Like, in my mind, it's like, dang, you've been busy all day and you ain't got time for me. Like, in my mind, mentally, I internalize it. But it has nothing to do with that. Sometimes I have to sacrifice my selfishness of wanting to spend time with him or what have you to understand that he is an individual. He needs space. He needs time to decompress and be an individual. So live and let me live, yeah.
I like it. This is Sinatra. I did the sacrifices that I make in these 3 departments.
Talking to your partner.
Oh, okay. Well,
Sacrifice you maybe that he might not
oh, okay.
recognize. Something.
Well, then, yeah, it would be these things then. Physically, I feel like we're the same person all around. We have so much in common. So physically, I don't think there's really anything besides like right now. With me being pregnant, we had to learn some things. He wasn't around as much when I was pregnant with our first son because of long distance. So this was something new for us during this time. So sex was definitely a reality check for us, I would say. Because I am more so, I am that girl who just, I love it. Him, he's like, I could have it, but it ain't that deep to me. And I'm like, what? So that kind of like hit me. That hit me hard. So that was kind of a sacrifice. Oh, what? Oh, what? With the sex and pregnancy?
No.
Oh, wait. I mean, oh, okay. I was about to say, I know you know what I'm talking about. Oh, you confused though? Oh, okay, all right. Look, well, use your imagination. All right, mentally, I would say I make the sacrifice to remember the things that you tell me instead of begging for reassurance all the time. I like to give you a break sometimes. I don't know if you know that or not, but I like to give you a break sometimes. I will speak to myself and tell myself, girl, he told you that he feels this way. He told you that he will do this and he will do that and this is how he feels. So you don't got to ask right now, I have faith in that instead of just asking. So I do make that sacrifice because I need reassurance. I need it a lot. I love reassurance. But I know for him, he's like, bro, I already told you. So I give him a break. Emotionally, a sacrifice I made was toughening my skin because I'm very emotional. I will cry at the drop of a dime. And I know that there are times he cannot handle it. He handled it better when we were best friends, though, which is funny. Huh? Okay. Well, yeah, he handled it better when we were best friends. So I just take it for what it is, and I'm like, all right, I'll hide this one, and maybe the next time you can comfort me with something else. Here you go.
Sure. All right, so this is Kendall. So the sacrifices physically, I don't think I made any sacrifices physically for
You don't have to go down like it's a list. Those are just there.
Oh, okay, cool. I think as of where we stand now, I've given up a lot to make this thing work. And like I've been saying throughout this whole podcast thing is, we are in a good spot and we're going to continue to grow. And I'll continue to find ways to be me and adjust. And yeah.
She pretty much covered up.
Yeah, she did.
No, but can you cover why you was making the face when he was talking? Cover that part. Remember when he was saying, you know, not everything need to be discussed, and you was like, it was around that time.
He was just agreeing.
Oh, okay. Oh, okay. He covered that part. Okay.
He was just agreeing with solid man.
I think we already did all of them. Yeah.
Yeah, you did.
This is Dara. This is Dara, and I just want to say I love Raina. Raina is hilarious. So no, there were just a few things that I heard you all say. First, Jalen, I heard you talk about the point versus my piece. You didn't say it that way, but I was picking up what you were putting down. And honestly, I feel like at the end of the day, like super humble about this. But the reason why I have a lot of relationships that are working is because I realize that my point isn't always important, right? Especially not more important than the piece of relationship. Because again, as I said, we're not put here to be alone, right? Now, don't feel like everybody is supposed to be married, but I do feel like the Lord has placed us 1 in a billion, right? To be in relationship with other people. He didn't do it so that we could be in solitude or be afraid of, you know, expressing ourselves or being a part of what someone else is or what they have or whatever. So a lot of times when it comes down to just even being like, whether it's Diamond, my nail tech, like whether it's Sinatra, me and her, we've just become like really, really good friends. I realize that like at the end of the day, I'm learning how to be a part of your life, not the other way around, right? If you start looking at it in that way, then I feel like you're already working backwards. So for me, it's always like, how can this be peaceful? Now, I don't feel like you have to compromise who you are as a person, right? Because you all talked about that individual. That's another thing I heard you all say about the individualistic aspect of being in a relationship. You don't want to lose yourself, but it is also important to know, like, the way that I skin the cat is not necessarily the way that Jalen does. Right. But it's okay, right? We can still exist in the same space, you know what I mean, at the same time, and I don't have to want to bite his head off because he doesn't skin the cat the same way as I do. The physical sacrifice, I wanted to like kind of spearhead that to you, Raina. I know you touched on it, and of course, if you don't want to like expound, then I understand, but I just feel like there are going to be so many women who are set free by your testimony when it comes to what you said about the physicality of your relationship and how, you know, Anthony has made that sacrifice, you know, as a man, because that's something that I deal with. And not to like, you know, make this podcast about me, but this is something that I've spoken about on our podcast. Like we've dealt with, a lot of women have dealt with, and not to say men haven't, but we've dealt with molestation, we've dealt with sexual assault, right? Two things I am super familiar with. And so when it comes down to even recognizing somebody who I want to be in a relationship, those things are paramount, right? It's important for me to know that you respect me on not only like for who I am, right? Because I feel like me, Dara, feels like the baseline is love. So you're going to love me, right? Because that's what I deserve, right? Because I was made by God. But how do you respect my body? How do you respect my space? And so I want you to expound on that. As far as emotional sacrifice, how much time do I have? Oh, thanks. It's not going to be long. As far as emotional sacrifice, I feel like we as women, all the women, I would love for you guys to touch on this. And you said something about you being like super emotional, Sinatra. And I do feel like, you know, there are certain women who are more emotional than others. But I feel like all of us kind of like, that's the feminine energy in us, right? Like we can't help but to be emotional, right? It doesn't mean that we have to be necessarily sensitive. It doesn't mean that, you know, we can't control them or anything like that. A lot of us just have emotional intelligence because we're allowed to do emotion, right? So I think that the emotional sacrifice comes in being in relationship with men because you guys a lot of times are more logic and more like we're making decisions on that exterior. We're making decisions based off the whole picture. And you're like, no, but I'm in this time. Like, this is how I feel right now. Like, let's talk about it right now, which is why you guys were saying that, like, everything don't need to be talked about. Well, to us, yes, it does. It does. It's important, right? But it's only because then there's a time when we are out and you want me to go in the bathroom because there's a fight, or you can see men walking this way. I can't see them. And you want me to go in the bathroom. And I'm like, what? But why do I need to go in the bathroom? It's because we haven't had the conversation. You didn't want to have it. You know what I'm saying? On another day, when those things do need to be talked about, babe, it's going to be a time where I can't explain to you why you need to go out the way. Why I'm going to tell you, get in the closet, and you don't need to ask me a question because you need to move. Right? So I feel like as like just bringing it full circle as women, I feel like there's a level of emotional sacrifice that we all make because we just don't understand what y'all are talking about. And I'm only speaking from the women's side because that's what I know. So yeah, so I'm passing it along. I know I dropped a lot in that. So.
I ain't responding to that. I can't respond to that. Nah, thank you, actually. Thank you. But you did hit on something that was heavy on my mind. I shared this in one of our previous sessions. I know, like I take a lot, I don't want to say a lot, that's subjective. Well, to me, I take a lot of mental, and I make a lot of mental and emotional sacrifices. Because Jelani said something that's always going to stick with me because she's actually the one that made sense to me when she said that. I don't even know why I clicked when she said, y'all have to be able to step away from logic sometimes. Yes. And it pissed me off when I heard it, but I'm going to tell you, see, because if you listen to it's like 2 sessions ago, I believe, but it made sense because it's the love and respect thing again. Like God said, you know, women respect your husbands. He said, husbands, love your wives. Like we require 2 different things. And then he said, dwell with your wife with understanding. It ain't say, you know, dwell with her with respect or just dwell with her in that love. That's how you love her. Dwell with her in understanding because they're going to operate more in their feelings than we are. And sometimes our logic opposes their feelings. You like, regardless if it's what we're saying is right, regardless if these are facts, like the facts may invalidate her feelings and the relationship is more important than the facts. Like, we can get to the facts later on. But if she got to process and do what she got to do, right now we got to step away from our logic. And that was hard for me to do for the longest. Like, I learned that after my last relationship. I didn't learn that in my last relationship, and it cost me. Because I didn't want to dwell with her and her emotions. I'm like you. Like, I don't want to be around all this crying and all that. You know, I can only hold you for about 16 minutes maybe. Yeah, not a day. Not a day. Like, we ain't gonna sit here and mope around for a whole day. I ain't got that in me. Like, I don't want that energy to rub off on me now. I'm moping around and everything. And so it was like a mental sacrifice. And it's not even just with, you know, the person that you're romantic with, you're intimate with. It's period. So this is, like she was saying how through the podcast she's understanding men more. I'm understanding women more. So even women that I work with, and I work in construction. So you figure in construction, it's like all brutes. You would think, nah, these women are still women though. And so it's hard because the environment is a masculine environment. And so I can accidentally deal with a woman like I'm dealing with men. And so it's helping me be more conscious and, you know, step away from logic to really get more in tune with their emotions and all that. And I feel like the emotional sacrifice, we spoke against this, I'll be quick. With this one is, I always say, like, a man and his woman cannot be weak at the same time. Like, I believe, and I could be wrong, I believe a woman will lose trust in a man at that moment. Like, because she will feel like she can't be protected by it. So we had spoke about it. What's the lady name on the boat with the parasail? Oh, Tamara Hall. Tamara Hall. I guess she was engaged, and something happened where it broke. Something broke. She fell in the water, and she needed help. And her fiance at the time didn't jump in, didn't do anything to get her. That some other guy did, and so she called it off. Now I don't know if the guy was scared, if he can't swim, whatever it is. A man cannot be weak at the same time his woman is weak. He cannot be weak at the same time when she needs her. And so sometimes we have to eat our emotions. We got to eat what we feeling for the sake of her. And it's because we're doing this for the sake of her, and it's really for the sake of the relationship. We ain't looking like this is for the relationship at the time, but if you down, if my woman, the person that I love, the person that I'm giving my all to, is hurt, we feel that. Like we don't want that, and so we like, I'm willing to go all the way. I shouldn't have said that. I should have just went ahead on here. But that's how we feel. Like, man, I'm willing to do whatever it takes just to get her back on the even keel and everything. I'm gonna skip this one because we running out of. I mean, we could hit it. How y'all feel? Because this one's for the men, talking about the sacrifices of leadership. And then for the women, we're going to talk about the sacrifices of. I guess we got to do it.
I think that should be our next thing, though.
All right.
Yeah. Only reason I say that is because I think that's going to be a little longer. Do y'all think?
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah. That's why, if you see, that's why I left it. I didn't make the slide. I left the jump because I don't have the points. Y'all gonna help me. Y'all gonna help this. I know, especially for this one. Yeah. That word submission really, it rubs a lot of people the wrong way. Yeah. That's one of the words where I didn't know what else to put there. And I know, yeah. So, but I do, greatest form of love. The greatest form of love's investment is sacrifice, right? It is sacrifice. And this was one of the moments where, the content is directed towards the men, right? Because it said, greater love, this is John 15:13, he said, greater love has no one than this, meaning this is the greatest form of love, that a man will lay down his life for a friend. Scripture also told us, husbands, love your wives like Christ loved the church, in as much as he died for her, gave his life. I'm going to ask this question. I want y'all to be completely honest. This is for the women. Would you die for your husband? Is it unanimous? Is it unanimous? We got 3 couples in here. Well, we got 4 women in here. Is it a unanimous yes? Oh, would you die for your husband?
I hope that I definitely feel that way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I don't think I have to ask the men would they die for.
No, you need to ask.
All right. Would you die? Would you die?
Yeah. Okay. So, based on the assumption that that's what's expected of men, me as an individual, I don't want to lose my life for no one. But the only exception, God honest truth, I would die for you. Would I want to? No.
Yeah, no, I get it.
But I would. The person that, without a doubt, no question, my daughter. Your children, you die for your children, no matter what. But for a person, and I'm trying to be as realistic as possible. No one's guaranteed to stay together forever. Everybody's not guaranteed to stay the same. You may not always feel the same way about that person. So to lay your life down based on how you're feeling in that moment, I don't feel like that's the most logical thing of going about it. So, no, I wouldn't. No, honestly, I wouldn't. But I feel like by default, yes. But as an individual, no, I don't want to die. I love my life.
To me, I guess death does not bother me at all. It's just a reality. It's very matter of fact. It is what it is.
I'm sorry. I'm not saying you want to.
No. I get it. Not saying that you want to, but are you willing to? And for me, I think I know that I would be willing to give my life for my husband, and not because of some lovey-dovey romantic any situation. I know that if I was to go at any second, and like he said in his response, his priority is our child. So if he was to lay his life down for anybody, it would be her. So for me, I know that if anything was to happen to me, she would be in the best, most amazing hands with him. For me, the only two people I probably would consider, like, is this worth it, are him and my child. And I know that he would take care of her amazing, and he would instill in her all the things that that I've ever wanted and wished and hoped. So I know that he would do good and great by her. So for that, I would sacrifice my life for him. But yeah, although I know that homeboy would have walked away.
This is Sinatra. Yeah, same as Diamond said, that does not scare me at all. We actually were looking at a post on Twitter or whatever, and I can't remember what it says, but it's a woman, she's standing in front of her husband while the police officer is holding a gun up to him. And I was like, you didn't write that would be me? Hold up, what you about to do, sir? Hold up. You know, so I without a doubt, yes, I would, for sure. Right. It's okay.
This is Kendall. This is Kendall. I honestly, Jalen, I agree with you, buddy. I'm not gonna lie. Let's think more logical here. Okay? You know what I'm saying? Like, would I, in the circumstance of doing so, if it just so happened to happen, yeah, sure. I die. You got me. You got pow. Yeah, I'm dead. Sure. But would I literally say, take me now, Lord, to save her? Here's the thing, right? I have a great son. Now, like you said, for my son, I will do anything. I will climb the world's towers to kill whoever I need to, or be killed, jump off, whatever. But, however, in the failed clutch of circumstances, I don't think I would say, God, take me first. You know what I'm saying? Because I think we all have our time to go. Right? And if it's her time to go, it's like, nah. To be honest, to be honest, like I would, like I said, I would do it, but again, it just have to be logical, for sure.
Actually, I've actually put myself in harm's way for my wife and my son. You know, it was an incident where the police had pulled me over for my tent one time, and they just got out, guns drawn. Like, I'm going back and forth with them while they pointing guns at me, just so, you know, nothing would happen to them. So, no question, I would, you know.
This is Raina. I think that when you overthink it, as far as a situation where if somebody comes in with a gun and they say, who wants to die? No, you're not going to say, sign me up. But I think in the heat of the moment, if they walked in and put a gun to Anthony's head, I am going to jump because I love him and be like, wait. And that's putting myself in, because he can just pull the trigger. Just because I say, wait, don't mean he going to wait. He might bang, and I could be dead. So, yeah, I can't foresee myself sitting somewhere and watching someone do something to him. It's just an instinct for me to react and indirectly, I'm putting myself in harm's way. There are people that I can say that I would sit and be like, I got a lot of stuff to do today. This is take your lick, dog. I mean, this is you. But and be able to. This might sound comfortably sit there, and then, but I know that I would not react because my first thought would be him and Jaden. I have to be here for him and Jaden. But between the two of them, for sure, I would jump and not think of the severity of the situation.
This is Zara. Of course, I'm not married, but for me, I feel like that's actually one of the things I think about a lot. I think about death a lot. And I don't know why that's the case. I think it's like you, Diamond. It's because I'm not really scared. It's kind of like, it's the appointment that we're never going to miss, right? Like, it's just going to happen at some point. So for me, I'm like Raina. Like, I feel like reactionary. Like, I'm not going to like watch somebody who I'm connected to that in that way. Like, if I'm going to the altar with you, like, I feel something for you real deep, and we're one. Like, I really do feel that. Like, I can subscribe to the understanding that there is no Dara and da-da-da. It's Dara, Dara, whatever his name is. And so my thing is, if something does happen to this man, something's happening to me anyway. So I'm thinking about, like, the after point. So you might as well shoot me. Like, you might as well take us both out for real, because I'm not going to be right if he's not here. You know what I'm saying? So I think about stuff like that, and that would be my logic to say, like, I would want to sacrifice, myself in that way, because I wouldn't want to. I know for me, if I feel somebody that deeply, if I'm that deeply in love with someone, or God has purposed me to be with this person, and we can no longer carry this load together, I might as well just have gone too. So.
Oh. Say no. Nah, I think about death a lot also. All my life I've always thought about death. And I'm a little different because I don't have any kids, I don't have a wife, but there's people in my life that I would put myself in harm's way for right now. Like people that I hold dear, and it's actually several people. And I always thought about things like, my feelings for these people, like the love that I have for them, will not change when I get married. And so I always thought about things like, how would my wife feel if I got a wife and kids at home, and I put myself in harm's way for my brother's kids, or my brother's wife, his family, and things like that. Because that's just who I am. And I just have the utmost faith in God that if something was to happen to me while I got little ones, a wife and everything, I just trust God, and I'm going to pour into my wife enough to like, look, you going to keep going, and you going to find another man. You just found another man that's going to be fit to raise these children and to be a husband that was as good as I am or greater. Like, you don't go after me. I just trust God with that, because I'm not going to die out here shooting dice or something. I'm not going to die out here selling drugs. If I died, like you said, it was my time. Like, I'm going to go out doing my purpose. I'm going to go out fulfilling my purpose. And so that's just what was supposed to happen. So I just believe that the Most High is going to take care of my family after that, whether it's I had to sacrifice for her or whether I would end up being a sacrifice for somebody else. But that's just me. I do not expect every man to hold that sentiment.
I have a question. When y'all say y'all not scared of death, what does that mean?
That's a deeper conversation for me, because it goes way back. But we can talk about that afterwards. Yeah. We're going to talk about it afterwards. That's going to be a post conversation. Yeah. But in regards to commitment, because this is the commitment series, and we was diving in on the sacrifice, right? And I'm asked these questions because it's about how far are you willing to go for this commitment? Like, the greatest form of love's investment is sacrifice. And that's why I put this, because there is no greater sacrifice than dying for somebody. Because after you die, that's it. So, this is my guy right here.
My wife left me, and what you gonna do about it? Is she going for good or you going to get her? No, bro, I'm talking from experience, bro. My sophomore year in college, doing my thing, traveling the road, not listening to my wife. She packed up and came back to the D. And said, I'm through. I said, all right, you might be, but not without me coming down there. You feel me? You can tell me on the phone you through with me. I'm cool with that. You can write me a letter, because there wasn't no text back then. You can write me a letter and tell me. No, hear what I'm saying? You can tell me on the phone you're through with me. I invested too much. I invested too much to quit. I made too many sacrifices to give up. No, listen to me. That's why it's so easy for you to quit, because you ain't paid nothing for it. I paid too much. I stood before your mama and your dad and said, till death do us part. If you leave, you will not leave me over the phone or through a letter. You will look me in my face and tell me you go. After I bring you the roses. Listen to me, you gotta hear what I'm saying. I ain't talking like somebody who ain't never been through nothing. I'm telling you she got up and left. I'm telling you she drove all the way back to Detroit from Alabama by herself and was through. I got on the road. So I will greet this day with love in my heart, all positive. When I see her, I don't care what she say. She will know in my heart, I'm sorry and I want you back.
I had a question that I was going to ask with this, right? Because man, we got a lot of pride, right? Mm-hmm. And so I was going to ask the question, like, are you willing to look like a fool for your partner? Because a lot of men are like, that pride, when that thing ain't really dealt with, a lot of people ain't. Like, and it's sad to say, a lot of people like, nah, I'm not. You played with me. I'm holding. Yeah, if anybody, because we're gonna go around. If anybody got.
This is Jalen. I feel like in that case, you live and you learn. Like, it's not always expected for you to. Hold on. Rephrase the question. What was the question? Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, okay. So you said looking like a fool. Looking like a fool, no. Absolutely not. I feel like that's something when you first start in a relationship, yeah, because you may not know how to manage your emotions, but again, self-work, emotional intelligence, it also depends on what you value more. Do you value getting your point across over looking like a fool? Or do you care more about yourself and how you are perceived and letting the value of you getting your point across go? Because a lot of the times you end up with nothing. You may still look like a fool and feel like you're proving your love and have motivational speech just like he does. And they ass will still tell you, I'm still done with you. So you drove all the way up here talking to yourself for 7-8 hours, talking about how positive you're going to be and how much she's going to know your heart is pure. Nobody's going to hear that shit after a while. Seriously. So you can look like a fool all you want and be as happy as you want, but you do that when you're younger. Not saying when you're younger, when you maybe fresh in the experience. I can only speak for myself. So back then, I feel like I was willing to look like a fool, be loud, be aggressive, get my point across. But now I feel like I'm past that, and it's more important for how we communicate and how I get my point across rather than looking like a fool to prove my point.
This is Diamond. I don't agree with Jalen. I do feel like it's okay if you look like a fool to prove how much you are devoted to that person or that cause or what have you. I'm willing to be wrong and look like a fool in order to show that I'm here, I'm present, and you know what, I was wrong. And even in our relationship, there's been times where you and I have both played the fool, showing our devotion or talking to each other. And, oh, I want you to be back and I love you or what have you and things like that. We've played the fool. I know we've had a long relationship. However, there was a time where we separated for a short amount of time because we realized this is whack out here. But there was a time where we tried to explore other relationships and possibilities. And we were like, you know what? We did all that arguing, all that fussing, just to come back to the point of being like, you know what? It's worth it to figure it out with you. And I will say I played the fool. And I'm not sorry for it. I mean, I have a phenomenal husband, an amazing child, and I don't care. Call me Boo Boo.
I got something to say, but I'm gonna let you go.
Let's go.
Go here.
This is Kendall again. Sure, here we go. So, like, I've done this before. And like she said, I agree with her. I do think there are times where, you know, you have to look like a fool. And that goes back to the part of you being dedicated, right? That goes back to the part of dedication, right? So, in dedication, and in that, when you're going through the process, sometimes you just don't make it. I didn't make it to the NBA, but I don't really take back the dedication that I gave to the game of basketball, right? You know what I'm saying? So there's times where you just got to do what you got to do, bro. And to get my lady back, I promise you, I'm gonna fall on that sword, bro. I'm gonna have to just fall on that.
This is Sinatra. I wanted him to tell his own story. I didn't want to tell it for you. But as far as for me, absolutely. I've been there, done that. I agree with Diamond and Jalen, though, because for me, seeing how much I shown myself to be a fool growing up for who I am right now, I told myself I won't be doing that again. Like, it just makes me feel some type of way. So, for example, I went to an extent to change my number because I messed up. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like, I'll do anything, you know. And one of them, I like literally that same day, I was like, I'm going to change my number. And I didn't even think about everything else, that number, how important that phone number was. You know, like, it was more than just my boyfriend and, What did I? Oh, but did I die? I know, right? But still, I was like, okay, I'm not doing that again, because I found out there was, like, for that situation, he wasn't going to do that. When he made his mistake, he ain't changed his number. You got the same number from years ago. I could have kept my number. So certain things like that, I would have to think before I make certain foolish decisions. So I'm half and half.
This is Anthony again. I would say yes. Back when I was younger, you couldn't get me to make a fool of myself for anybody. But this is not just a girlfriend or somebody I'm dating. Like, this is my wife. Like, if I can't be a fool for her, then who can I be a fool for? You know what I'm saying? And not only that, I don't think I would make it without her. She like my peace of mind. Cause I mean, like, a lot of times she talking me off the ledge a lot. So, you know, without that, I don't think I would make it. So of course I would make a fool of myself for her.
This is Raina. I don't look at it as making a fool of myself. Huh?
That was supposed to be my line.
Sorry. I don't look at it as making a fool of myself. I look at it as fighting for something that is worth it. And when I say worth it, I built a life with him. And I'm going to fight to continue that life and continue to be with him based on all of the hard work over the years. It might not look like hard work to others, but for us, it was our hard work. So fighting for it, and even if something should happen and he's like, no, I am somebody where I don't ever want to be like, what if? At least I know I did my part, and that's how I feel in anything we do in a relationship, even with communication. I don't like holding back, because if it goes sour, I need to be able to rest my head at night knowing that I did my part, and I fought as hard as I could. It ended because you said no, and at least I know that's where it stands, versus worried about what other people are going to think. And that connection to get things back on track was just simply him feeling like him wanting to feel wanted and be for, and that was it. I don't want to ever have to worry, what if I went back and had this conversation or said this or did that, what would have happened? So absolutely I am.
I'll let you wrap it up. I'll hold on to mine.
All right, well, I already decided that I look like a fool for my woman. But this is, I gotta say this, because you hit on it earlier, and I think it was either, I can't remember if it was you or you, one of y'all kind of hit on this. Y'all definitely kind of hit on this, right? But this is just something for us men to consider. I mean, Dara could translate it for the women if it can apply, right? But, and it was something else from the last session that prompted this too, but I'm going to read it, and I'm just going to leave it at this, right? Men have to have the emotional intelligence and mental awareness to know whether or not they even have the capacity to take on such sacrifice. That's why the slide before this said, how far are you willing to go? That's why I asked that, are you willing to die? Like, there are things, we have to know whether we have that emotional intelligence. Like, we got to be aware of ourselves, of our inner being, because we want to do that. Like, we'll say we want to make these type of sacrifices and everything, but really, certain things could break you. They could take you to a point to break you, and you could mentally check out. But it says, our ego would tell us we do, but so many of us have trauma or immaturity that just has not been dealt with or even addressed, and we'll mask it by providing or trying to be something we perceive a woman needs. Like, we can have some insecurities or inadequacies, but we know women love men that could provide for them, that could protect them. And so in order to mask those things, we'll be that for a woman. But what we're not understanding is, because we're not addressing those things, it's just like you're piling stuff more and more on top of a hollow foundation. So now the foundation isn't solid. The man is the foundation. Whenever the foundation of anything is compromised, everybody is at risk. And I put this because I had to deal, this came from me. I had to deal with this with myself. Like, what are the things, what areas as a man are you lacking in? What have you not dealt with? What do you have abandonment issues? Do you have, would you say, you like to be, what is it, affirmation? Do you have affirmation issues? What is it that you experienced coming up that might have got your foundation a little rocky, and you're trying to mask it because you'll feel accepted or you'll feel needed? You're trying to mask it by being something for somebody. And I feel like there's a lot of men that do that. We don't even think about this, though. We don't even know that, because, I'm not saying this is you, but we don't even know that because I grew up struggling or because it wasn't easy for me growing up, that this is why I'm busting my butt, because I don't want my family. I'm saying that I'm providing for my wife, but really this thing is being driven by trauma. And so that's why I put this up here, because these are things that we really need to consider, because it's never too late. It's things where you might go home and be like, you know what? I don't need to work 16 hours a day. Really, I don't need to work 12 hours.
Oh, I thought you were going to say I don't need to work at all.
No. Man don't work, man don't eat. That's word. But really, because that may be a sacrifice for us. Like, I can't go without a job. Like, I don't know, I ain't gonna say I don't know too many. I know dudes that don't work, but they scrubs in the mental. But a man, especially that wants to be somebody, that wants to have things in life, that wants to be in a relationship, we can't go without making money some kind of way. Like, it's just in us just to want to do that, a real man. And so, but I got to know that I'm doing this genuinely, wholeheartedly, because I'm doing this for my family, and that something is not being driven by trauma or being driven by some kind of void. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Is it a negative My question to you and to everyone else. This is Jalen. Do you think it is totally negative to be driven by negative trauma?
We could address that on the next one. I would love to answer that right now. I would love to answer that right now. It's 10 o'clock though. It's recorded. Yeah, so that's a dope one. Matter of fact, I'm gonna write that down. All right, and that concludes What Did You Hear Me Say? Commitment Part 2.